grab a seat. This is Sareth. He's the manager, owner, operator of the Daylight Donuts and Asian Cuisine.
Yeah, it's beautiful and it smells wonderful.
Yeah.
It smells good.
That's gonna be the hardest part of the meeting.
Yeah.
That's about the hot pot when you're done.
The hot
When we're
pot.
done, that's about the hot.
Okay.
Y'all, if anybody wants a drink, somebody's gonna get you started, let me know, and I'll get it squared away, or Sarah.
Yeah. You guys want a drink?
Lisa is, all these meetings, Lisa's gonna be recorded. That's my wife, Lisa, over there. It's so we can have it for historical value and be able to go back and look things up if we want. So it'll be a YouTube channel and she'll put it out on the Facebook too. Hello everyone, and welcome to Gypsy Garden Community. I'm Jay, I'm part of the admin group. This is your admin group, we're minus one today. This is only our second meeting. We're all here to gain experience with gardening and anything that's connected to that. Because there's a lot of other outside things that are going to be involved in this. You're probably going to learn a little bit of construction, you're going to learn a little bit about soil, you're going to learn about storage. So all those things at some point will come into play. We're going to try to keep these meetings to an hour. That way if somebody, we all have other things going on too. So trying to get a little more organized each time we do this. After the hour, if anybody, we want to sit and talk, have breakout groups, whatever, we don't even have to be out of here until 4 o'clock. But we're trying to keep this to an hour to get over subject matter and then what your particulars are. Some early season crops. We'll be talking about seed starting, and Deidre will be handling that. Lynn will be talking about transplanting, and I'll be talking about direct sowing. So right now, let's go around the room, and I'm gonna start. I have Lisa go second because she's back there. I'm Jay, and introduce yourself. Say why you're here and what you think you can bring to the community.
Or if there's something that you hope to learn as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So my name is Jay. You'll never see that on anything. My name is Charles Johnston, but everybody calls me Jay. Why I'm here? I love gardening, I love the outdoors. I want to have control of the quality of my food. What I can bring to the group, I think I have pretty good leadership skills, organization, and I got a lot of years of growing a lot of different things. So, Lisa?
I'm Lisa. I just follow along with Jay and film everything he does. Oh yeah, okay, thank you.
This is Lisa.
That's me. I'm usually behind the camera. Anyways, yeah, I think that I can contribute by doing the social, the networking, which I met Sareth. We did, and then I came over here one day and said, hey, can we use this meeting room? We're just starting out. And so, and the YouTube, the group that we started on Facebook. So I'm kind of the person behind the scenes pushing this.
Because until this group, I had literally 2 friends on Facebook, and I was fine with that because I didn't want to do the social media. I had been completely off for 2 years. So I get on here and we start this, and it sort of exploded from there. And if I hadn't had her and her ability, I think I'd be bald or in an institution right now. So I'm not good at the techie stuff unless it relates to photography editing.
Yeah.
So that brings us to our esteemed leader.
But I am the gypsy behind the Gypsy Gardening. My name is Deidre. You'll see me on Facebook as Lee, because if I write my name out on anything, nobody can ever say my name right again, no matter how many times I tell them.
I would love to say that I bring knowledge to the table, having been a gardener for the last decade, but I've learned very quickly that Alabama is different. Alabama grows bugs like I have never seen before.
It's a talent.
And so
in one street, you keep going and it's like sunny. I don't think you're gonna go.
yeah, the weather. So what I bring to the table is enthusiasm. I really, really want to make we've got something cool going on, and I've already decided I kind of want to hone in and maybe pick your brain just a little bit.
Yeah,
I won't, I
Oh,
won't
no.
be too rough on you, but I may have a couple of questions if you're open to it, because I want to learn, how do we make this work here? Yeah. That's what I'm doing.
That's why we call it a community, because a community helps each other. It's not just one person, it's not just 4 people, it's all of us. So I may have started this, but I by all means do not know more than a lot of you. I've been gardening for a long time, but I started with flowers. I got really good with that in Florida, and then we moved here. And we didn't move here, we moved to Huntsville. And so Huntsville has a completely different climate and everything to here, and I didn't have any room to really garden, so it was all pots down the stairway. And then we moved to a big place, and I still just grew flowers. And then we got in trouble financially for a minute during all the moving around, and I was like, if I can grow flowers, I can grow food, and I can take that off my husband. So instead of him having to work so hard, I could pull my weight in that way, because I can't work anymore. But yeah, and it went like gangbusters after that, and now we moved here, so it's a different zone, it's different soil,
Yeah.
so I am right back at square one, but by golly, I think I've got a good group of people around me to learn from.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get the,
They Hello.
Kids
the
play.
children are playing.
The children.
You're trying to sneak in the back door with me.
We're gonna start with talking about it's early season, so our minds should be set on, hey, the next events are getting ready for coming up, and a lot of those things that you're gonna start planning or prepping for, or may have put in the ground already, are gonna be things like radishes, potatoes, onions, garlic, beets, cold weather type crops that can handle that type of stuff. And the 3 things we're going to talk about: seed starting, and we're going to start with Deidre, and then transplanting with Lynn, and then I'll go over direct sowing and futures.
Okay. I'm gonna keep mine fairly short, because even though starting can be extremely complicated if you let it be. Basically, what you need to know is, 1, when is the right time to plant your seeds? That's on the back of your seed packet. Or the internet is a fabulous place to find these things out too. Find out when your seeds need to be planted. If you're going to start indoors, you need to know if the plants you're starting indoors need any kind of overhead light, like LED grow lights or regular grow lights, or if they need heat mats and light, or just heat. You need to know all of those things before you even put the seed in the little pot. It just makes a huge difference. And then you're gonna need to water them according to manufacturer's directions. But it's not as complicated as it can be. If you look at all of the different things at once, you can get really overwhelmed. But basically, you want to plant your seeds twice the size they are. So if your seed is, say, 1/4 of an inch long, you'd want to plant it 1/2 inch deep. And that's all you need to know. If they're teeny little seeds, the best thing to do is dust them across the soil and then barely brush the soil. And you're gonna have to thin them, because they're gonna come up in clumps. But you know, if you wanna go through and look for every teeny tiny seed to put in the ground one at a time, bless your heart. And you can do it, but you have to like take a toothpick, wet the end of the toothpick just a little bit, and then touch one seed in your tray of seeds. And then you put that one I'm ambitious, one seed where it needs to go in your pot or whatever your growing device is, and you just kind of brush it until it comes off, and then you brush off your toothpick and start over with the next seed. That can take a really long time, and most people are not that patient. But, you know, a lot of people are, and it just all depends. I mean, I do hate the thinning of the seedlings But there are certain things that I just realized that I have to do that. And some things you can divide once they come up. You can, get out very gently your little seedlings, and you can just sort of tease them apart and then plant those too. So it's totally up to you. You want a fine soil to start with. And they say at the very beginning, until you get germination, nutrition is not important. And that's true. But I think why start off behind the game? If I'm gonna plant something, yeah, it may not need nutrition for the first couple of weeks. But if I put it in soil that can sustain it after that, to start with, then I don't have to sit there and transplant itty tiny seedlings. I can just let it go. And I like that method because I'm lazy. The best thing to do, especially if you're growing something that is a little tougher to get started, is you're gonna wanna take, and don't take your mama's or your wife's or somebody else's colander and do this, but you definitely want to sift through your potting soil to get a good potting mix to start off with, because you don't want chunks. And a lot of potting soil has big chunks of say perlite or sometimes bark in it. And if you're growing something that's got really tiny fine roots, it's going to hit that and think it's the end of the world, and it will just stop right there and it won't grow anymore. Unless it's extremely tough by nature, which very few things are. But at the end of the day, seeds want to grow. So if you plant them carefully, then you're going to get some success. If it's huge or if it's a little bit, it's going to be some kind of success. And the last thing I will tell you too is when you plant fine seeds, get one of those mister bottles, or even get one of those at the Home Depot or wherever you shop that's like a gallon size that has a very fine mist, and spray your soil down with that before you plant a single seed. And then you plant your seed, and then if it's something that needs to be watered after that, you do it with that fine mist, and it won't trample your plants down, won't hurt your seedlings. So that is everything for me. Also, I do have some things I can email you if you are interested. It's a basically a cheat sheet for how to do everything to start your seedlings. And then I have some charts for the people that like the most scientific, complicated approach possible. My dad was an engineer. I kind of think like an engineer a lot of the time. So it's the system that I most use, and it keeps me on track for everything, because if I don't have something to look at, I'm like squirrel, and then it's a comment.
Next, we can post those to the website and Facebook too.
Yes, and I think Lisa already mentioned that we are doing a YouTube channel. And so everything that we can possibly post will be on that. And our Facebook page will have lots of information. And of course, anytime any of you have a question, all you have to do is reach out to us either by a question on Facebook, or you can direct message us, or whatever, however you want to go about it. I think my email is on the Facebook page. I'm not 100% sure about that, but we will make sure that we put our email available to all of y'all too. And we're more than happy to answer your questions. And if I can't answer you immediately, I will dig until I find an answer for you, and I'll get to it.
All right, so transplanting. We've got our seeds are germinated, or we went to the big box store, right? So one of the things that you always want to look for when we're talking about this beautiful little plant and putting it in the ground is location. We've got to have the right location for the right plant. Second thing is, does that location have a good soil? It's really important. I like to think of the soil as the immunity of the plant, because that's where all the roots and all of the everything that that plant needs to grow is going to come from. You want to make sure that you have a good soil. Healthy plants. We don't want to be picking up these little teeny tiny scroungely looking guys when we've got a really pretty healthy looking guy right next to him, if we can avoid it. If we're sowing our own seeds, yes, we're going to start picking them out as Deidre had mentioned, that it's something that not all of us like to do. However, if we plant a seed or a plant that's not quite as healthy versus a healthier plant, season. Right now we're getting ready, you know, we've still got some time for our cold sows, our lettuces and our broccolis and things of that nature. So make sure that you're planting for the season. I like to plant in those cooler mornings or on a cloudier day when it's really sunny out. That's not something that I really want to put my beautiful baby seedlings and starter plants out into the sun for the first time on. You know, those little root systems, as we expose them, they're delicate. They don't like the sun, they like the soil. So I try to do it on a day when it's a little less hot, a little less sunny, maybe kind of cloudy out. When we're removing our plants, it's important to make sure that we're gentle with those roots. Some are a little bit more hardy in the root structure than others, but gentle removal is going to be important to making sure that we maintain the health and not stress this plant out as it goes from its first home and into its permanent home in the ground. Now, I like to water in and water out. Not everybody knows what that means. When I say that I like to water in my plants, that means that I've taken the plant out of its first container, put them in the soil, put the soil back around, and then I've watered around. But before I do that, I actually like to water out my plants. I'm getting ready to pull my plants out of their first home and put them in the second. I'm gonna water them. I want that soil to be nice and loose. That way I don't have a hard, compact root bolus that I'm trying to fight to get out of this container. So again, we want to be gentle with our plants. We want to make sure that the roots are intact as best that we can. For that, I like to water in and water out. Some people, when they plant into the soil, they choose to then also fertilize at that time. I'm open for debate on that. Would like to learn from you guys, see what you guys do with that and see how it works around here. Again, if our soil health is where it need to be, I don't really feel that fertilizing right away is really what I need to do, but I'm new to the soil here, so trying to figure that out. So when we're prepping the ground, again, we want to start with a good quality soil. We want to dig the hole about twice as big as the container that the plant is coming in. Now each plant, some of them are going to vary whether they want to be filled up higher than the original soil level or just right at soil level. We don't want roots exposed, but some plants will do okay if we bury them a little bit further in. So read the instructions on those plants to see what that particular plant is going to really enjoy. Also, when you're planting, you can consider companion planting. That's something we'll talk about later on down the road, I'm sure. But main thing is we want to loosen the roots, gently press the soil in around them, and then again, offer a nice drink. Okay, so some benefits of transplanting versus direct sow and starting with seeds is they're ready to plant. So if we're up against a time crunch or we're worried about the delicacy of little starter plants and that's just not our forte, starting with big box store plants or seedlings from friends is a great option because it's ready to go. There's not as much guesswork, right? We don't have to time our dates and or track our dates and our timing. There's no need to worry about overseeding or thinning out, which again can be stressful for some of us when we see these beautiful plants. And
They like have margarine babies.
I have that hardship too, so don't feel bad. You want to transplant things that are going to make the most of your space. You don't want to have any failed opportunity for germination, and that's what's nice about transplanting. When we put seeds in, we don't know if they're all going to take or not, right? Transplanting, again, a lot of the guesswork is taken out of that step of it, so it is nice. There are downsides to transplanting. Obviously, there's a cost involved. Now, that's debatable because there's cost involved in starting seeds and having the soil quality and all of that. But a lot of people like to say that starter plants tend to be a little less in the cost department. However, they might not all have the varieties available to us that we want for the season or for our climate. So that's something that we want to be aware of. Transplanting beginner plants. Herbs are really, really good for transplanting and they're easy for a lot of us beginners. Basil, sage, thyme, mint, lavender, and rosemary are all great beginner herb plants and they do well with transplanting. Those ones there, they actually don't mind a rough root transplant, so you don't have to be quite as delicate with their roots when you're pulling them out. And some of them prefer that you loosen up the soil and give them a little mess around and then get them in. Let's see, lettuce is another great beginner transplant. Again, you want to really make sure that you've got a nice, good quality soil that it's going into and be careful with those nice tender roots. Easily transplanted crops for this time of year are broccoli, cabbage, and cauliflower. Nightshades will be coming up. Those are things like tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants. Also okra and sweet potatoes do really well when transplanting. So if you find this beautiful location that you're going actually do really well with transplanting. Tomatoes are great. They're adventitious root growers. We can transplant them into a nice deep hole with a little foliage on top, or we can put them in a nice shallow trench. The roots will take off as long as they have nice good soil that's not too compact. So tomatoes are another great transplant hardy one.
How do you keep these worms off the tomatoes without picking them off? Is there like a hack, like a spray hack or
The
something?
best thing you can do is get your eyes on them, and a black light does wonders if you're talking about corn.
Yeah, that's what I do, but I didn't know somebody had like a
That is
spray hack that's from here and knows.
There are
You know, the
sprays.
secret of
Companion,
the crazy worms they get all the tomatoes.
Yeah.
companion planting might help. I like to do garlics and onions. It helps shade them, the tomato plants are nice
Okay,
and
garlic
tall.
and onions.
And then it tends to repel also, you know, things like marigold. But usually if we have a good quality soil, the plant is healthy.
Well, I had them in the
repels
hydro,
bugs
those
really
hydro
easy.
towers.
Gotcha.
The big one, and, they ate them, like, I put it out on the top deck, and, I mean, they were covered constantly, and I said, maybe, I guess I'm trying the soil, so I'll do that with the garlic and then,
Right.
because in the towers I got, they had no chance, they just ate them.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
how.
yeah, they ate one whole 8 foot tall tomato plant and 8 potato plants,
They
which
were
I didn't even
constantly
know
there. And
they
they
could eat potatoes. I
Yeah.
was amazed, and it wasn't even in the same bed, because I don't grow those together, but ate all of that in one night.
the
They're
garlic
nice.
and onion, try with putting the tomato plants in the ground.
Yeah, they don't.
We'll
Peppers,
have
yes,
more
peppers are
solutions
another
as we
one.
get closer to
Right.
that season too.
Yeah,
They're great catfish thing.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
and chicken food, yes.
They're great catfish.
Chicken's
Oh,
lovely.
yeah.
All right, almost done with transplanting. So a couple of
trans.
transplanting woes. We get a lot of grain here, which is amazing for all of the greenery, but sometimes that can be hard on our soil, especially if we over-tilled it. That insane amount of water can make it real compact as it dries. So be aware when you're transplanting and where it's going, that if you're planting and it's had a heavier rain, it's easy to get in there, but as it dries, it can actually suffocate the little delicate roots because it's gonna dry to such a hard compaction. So depending on your soil and the water level, just be aware of that when we're transplanting. And then also sometimes our cute little transplants are gonna need a little extra sun or stem protection if they've not been exposed to the elements quite as long as some of their neighboring buddies.
Oh, I do have a tip on when you plant the seedlings. It's actually a Cherokee Indian tip.
Awesome.
And I don't know how it is because it entitles bananas, and I'm thinking, is this like Seminole Indians and you know or something?
Well,
Anyway, this is what I've heard it was. I'm not so sure where it is. If you make banana water and use that with, but that's where you plant when you go. So
banana tea compost is great. I've not found a plant that doesn't love it.
and if you, when you plant the little, when you start, do the mist of banana water and you let it sit like 3 days. But it really does work good.
Excellent.
Yeah, that extra shot of potassium helps.
Is that what it is?
Like I said, I don't know where it really came from, it was just told to me, it wasn't, I was thinking like, well, why are the cherries doing with bananas, but I didn't say anything.
She told me.
If it works, let it work. Now, there are some plants that we want to direct so and not transplant, which I think we'll probably cover here in a minute. Just real quick, carrots, they're not too friendly with transplanting. So the root crops, they're not real favorable.
Like
Turnips
which
and
ones?
arugula. Pardon?
Which ones aren't favorable?
The root crops, they don't really like to be transplanted. Things like carrots, beets, and turnips. And radishes, yeah. So I have done carrots and transplanted before, and they were okay. I mean, they eat just fine. They're not the prettiest like you're gonna get at the store, and not all. Yeah, we had a lot of huggers and a lot of legs running around, and I don't know. One just looked like a big. I'm not sure what it was, but it can be done. They just don't suggest it. Other things that you may not want to transplant because they're not as transplant hardy are going to be corn, squash, cucumbers, melons, beans, and peas. Those are going to be hard to dry. So.
Okay.
Very good. I have a question.
Yes.
You said nightshades.
Yes.
What is that?
So families, nightshade families are things that are going to be like your bell peppers and your tomatoes. They tend to have more lectins in the skins and they're higher on the glycemic index for most people if that's a concern. So nightshades is a family that tends to raise blood sugar levels because of the components within them. Good question.
I'm just wondering.
Good question. All right, any other questions? No, perfect.
Something I wanted to add beneficial if you've got your seedlings in a tray indoors to let a fan blow them so that the stems toughen up a little bit. It's like a gym for your plants. It makes them big
Oh,
muscles.
that's a good to
And
know.
then the second thing
I've
is,
never
you
done
do
it.
not want to take your brand new seedlings and just stick them straight outside because they will die most of the time. So the best thing to do is take them out for a little while in the early morning and then again in the late afternoon, but bring them in and keep them out of the direct sun in the middle part of the day and just increase the amount of time they're outside as you get closer to planting them, and make sure that they stay protected from heavy wind, heavy rain, or really strong sun.
So that's called hardening off?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, I'm gonna have to move back here because today we have a direct conflict. They're talking about starting seeds and putting the plants in the ground. I wanna talk about direct sowing. So we have some conflict here that's gonna happen. Direct sowing is just that, planting in the soil where it's gonna live its life, not moving. I look at gardening and growing based on the 4 seasons, but that 4 seasons starts 8 weeks ahead for me. The reason is for planting and if you're gonna start crops to get them to the right size. We are right about at the 8-week mark now for our last frost. So that's really kicking in people's heads now. Our last frost from the locals is telling me that's Good Friday. So,
Yeah.
That's when farmers almanac says.
okay, April Fools for the almanac. We did talk about some early season crops: potatoes, beets, asparagus, peas, chard, radish. Those are all this early season stuff that you can either be starting or putting in the ground now, but you've got to take care of them on both ends. Direct sowing, the pros and the cons. For me, the pros, and then this is what I see, there's less time spent and you can get an earlier harvest. Now, that sounds contradictory if you started plants inside. Guess what? You're not getting to the stage of them being able to produce higher yields until they get in the ground and they can stretch their legs out. Less cost. If you're not having seed trays, or like me, I started doing seed blocks or soil blocks where I make my own soil. But if not, you have pots, you've got all the gear that goes with it. Well, if you don't do that and you direct sow, you skip all that. Less plant material and handling, planting material and handling. Less equipment, like I said. You avoid a lot of leggy plants. If you start indoors with artificial lights, a lot of times your plants will jump up and then they're trying to get to that light because the light doesn't have nearly the heat that sun does. Less stress on the plants, like we both talked about. These delicate little plants, I mean, you literally can pinch it with your fingers and not even a nail and it's gone. So they come up stronger because then they're in the natural light. Again, season, timing. Plants will grow faster and they will be more consistent because every time that you transplant, you're putting that plant into shock. You may be really good and it's just a little bit of stress, but that stress time, it takes its time, it's trying to heal, it's not trying to push out new fruit and new limbs, it's trying to calm down and relax and feel good again, get its roots. I look at roots like a nervous system. You look like that's where they take up the nutrients. Well, anyone ever cut yourself? You had a nerve there and it hurt. The plants, I don't know that they can feel, but their makeup is to, hey, I'm hurt, I gotta take care of me. And it stops producing more and just tries to get better. Another thing, and I didn't even have this on here until y'all brought it up, variety. If you go buy all your stuff from the store or from the plant manufacturer or whatever it is, you're only getting what they put out there. And guess what they put out there? What sells. Not necessarily what you want. You have this, when I was in Florida, I had this Cherokee Seminole tomato. and there it would do great. And that was a variety that I couldn't find. I found it in one seed place, but they were out. But I found people that were there that were natives that had it. I think I got 20 some year old seeds and started planting. 20 some years old. Some of the cons to direct sowing, and you've already heard some of it. You can't control the climate and the weather itself. we can't control the weather. Somebody else might be able to, but it's not us. And if you can, let me know. We'll get you. Pests, rodents, birds. They all can, birds love seeds. 90% of the birds out there eat seeds. Well, when they see these nice seeds in the ground, and they're not hard to get to, that could be a problem.
It was. We had these little plastic owls, and they didn't care about them.
The young seedlings, when they come up, they're tender. And I actually just learned this last night. Some plants have poisons in them. Not necessarily to us, because we're growing them for the vegetable. But like the leaves of tomato is harmful to rodents. They can actually die from it if they eat enough. When they're young though, they haven't built up that poison, that toxin in there. So the rats and mice will come out and eat them. Chipmunks, squirrels, all of them would like to do that. Disease. We have no idea what's floating in the air we're breathing, let alone what these plants are taking from the soil, the water, and the air. So it's difficult to control those things. Difficult seed germination. If I try to grow a ghost pepper outside, it's not going to happen until June here. The ground has to be the right temperature, and that, for growing those, it has to be like 74 degrees constant for a week for it to germinate. The difference is, what's that? What is it?
Or you can start them inside.
Or you can see, here we go. We're getting separate. The difference is in controlled seed starting and direct seed starting can be mitigated though by some of the best practices of what I've seen. Make quality beds. Where is that? What have you heard in all three of these? Make quality beds. That's your soil. Make sure you don't have to have them pretty in rows or all that, but you have to have good soil. Number 2, organic material. That's the food. That's what they take in, and you have to have. I saw compost on that bag.
Yes.
Now, I said you don't have to have pretty nice rows and all evenly spaced, but the more organized you are at them, the better you're going to be, and the better the plants are going to do because you'll be able to maintain them easier. If you have nice rows of seeds in the ground, 3 different kinds of seeds, and a couple weeds come up, and you don't know, they're not marked, they're not spaced like you know they should be, now you might be pulling a weed, or what you think is a weed, that might be planting. Interplanting, companion planting, just like we said, it helps with either shade or getting light. It helps with the nutrients that are coming out. Some things fix the ground with nitrogen. Other things need the nitrogen. Again, both of them have said this, and I will pound it into the ground. Follow the seed packet instructions. Time of year, soil conditions, depth of seed plants, amount of sunlight or amount of shade. All that makes a difference, and the water. Watering, keep your seeds moist. Do not let them dry out. When they dry out, that's it. Once it happens, they're done. Because they started the process, they got wet, and they tried to crack that little seed open, and now they dry out, and they're done. Bonus tip, and this helps a lot, mitigate a lot of these things by itself. I put in my garden, here's my seeds. I have this nice row here. Anybody seen microgreens? You've seen how they do it, right? They put all the seeds in a tray and they put something on top of it and put this weight on there. That sounds like the stupidest thing in the world is going to kill these little plants. But what it does is make them stronger. They are going to put, I don't care if you put 10 pounds on that thing, eventually they're going to move it. It will literally move it to get to the light. So, I have my row of seeds, I take a board or a piece of cardboard and put some weight on it. You don't have to do it for a board, it's heavy enough. You put your seeds in, wet it, lay this board on top. It keeps in the moisture, it keeps the direct sunlight off of them. It'll probably keep a lot of bugs out of there, and there's probably not gonna be much disease right then and there. Every 2 to 3 days, look at that, make sure it has enough water. As soon as they start sprouting, let's say 70% of them start sprouting, take it off and it's done. That's it. It will keep the rodents out, it'll keep the birds out, and it'll help a lot of things. And it keeps that moisture in the seeds. That's all I have for my part of the presentation. Any questions? And I have met people all my life growing things, and I'm like, what? You do what? Like, again, the board over your seeds. Like, well, that makes no sense. They need sun, they need air, but they need to germinate.
But how
Yes,
many
sir.
plants can we pull out of the compost bin too?
Right, yeah, let's talk about that.
Have you ever run a commercial plant?
No, I've seen them now.
Yeah.
Lesson learned.
Something else that with you can make the choice however you want to start your seeds. Either one of the methods. There's just 2 steps or both, and I've actually normally done both. And when you tell me I can't do something, you can't transplant corn. Lie.
I did it last year.
Lie.
I did too.
did.
Yeah, it did not turn out.
My success rate was not as high, but I imagine if I sit there and I critique myself and go, what did I do wrong? Well, I just ripped them out of the ground, threw them in the ground somewhere else. Well, rip me out of bed and put me somewhere else, I'm probably gonna have a bad attitude.
Yeah.
And it's, but there are things that are way tough. Corn is hard, carrots are hard, but you can do them. You just have to control what's going on. And the things that can happen, your corn goes through that stress and it never recovers. Corn is a fickle plant, especially the corn we have now. It's totally different from
It's so domesticated, it won't even grow wild.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that something? You know, and everything else will take over.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
On our Facebook page for anybody who has that, but I printed off for Alexander City our frost dates. It goes by both the frost and moon date, so if you want to take a look at that, you are more than welcome to. The link I will try and post. I do have from our extension office here in Tallapoosa County a soil test kit if you're worried about your soil. These are free to get. They're $7 to turn in. You give them a pint of soil. They do all of the work. It's from our extension office. It's at Tallapoosa County in the courthouse.
County extension.
Dadeville, sorry.
And if you're planting directly in the ground, you really want to do that because then you don't overdo it with something your soil doesn't need, which can be just as harmful.
Yep.
Or underdo, you know, if your soil needs potassium and you're putting everything but potassium, your plants are still not going to do well.
Right, absolutely. If you want to figure it out on your own and not have somebody do the guesswork for you and you like to get handsy, these are cheap on Amazon. You can probably get similar things even at Home Depot, Walmart. These are great too because they test a couple of extra things that sometimes the extension office don't do. Yeah, so
It's not free farm.
this one actually only tests one additional thing over what the extension office does, but they have more elaborate ones depending if you feel like I have a nitrogen level and that's all I want to test, you know, this is going to be fine. If you're worried about more
I feel like somebody where half of my trees are brown on one side and I'm thinking, yeah, but the other ones are real green and I'm like, well, what mess is killing all that?
Right.
I mean, I'm just
It
common
could
sense,
be a
why does
lichen.
half of the yard dies all the time?
Yeah, it could be a fungus. There's a lot
That's
of
why I
fungus
said when I
that
did
grows here.
the soil, because even the grass was burnt over there.
Right.
And I'm
Especially
wondering,
this
would
time
that
of year
show
when
a
it's so
fungus or
wet.
something?
Say it again?
I mean, I'm pretty sure one of them would try to give me an indication that something was wrong with the soil part.
Correct. Yeah. We've got a ton of different tests out there. Do you have an inkling that I think it's this?
Something's wrong.
Go down a rabbit hole, you're gonna find
All
it.
the extension service, they'll come out and take a look at it.
They
Yeah.
will.
Yeah, you
They
do.
wanna know
You
what's
may
going
have to
on.
have them.
Right, and in the ground too, because
We had originally talked to Deidre and we just calling it a seed swap. It's obviously more than that. But
it grew.
if you have seeds, every time we have a meeting, bring your seeds.
Yeah,
So you never know,
absolutely.
somebody might want something or want to try something. And I thought I was pretty wiped out of seeds, and I found my stash, I guess. My my apocalypse stash, and I found some seeds that I had no idea I had, and they're different varieties. I was growing these in Florida, but I'll try to change the conditions here.
Right, yeah,
To
see
make
if you
them
can
more
be
like
different, yeah,
These
absolutely.
probably will be summer crops.
Yeah.
But yeah, as long as we start bringing, every time we bring something, that just gives us a little better idea, gives us a little more knowledge, and we can say, hey, that works for me, or it doesn't, move on. I
Absolutely.
think you want to show us.
Yes.
I'd like to hear about this.
All right,
Yes, I'm excited about what's in that bag.
Okay, I brought a sample of, this is what's called ECUA Bloom Compost.
What does that stand for?
Okay, it's the Scandia County Utilities Association.
Okay.
Okay, down at Pensacola. Okay, we have a small farm down in Mossy Head.
That's right, you guys
Right.
in Florida.
And they do their own compost. And it's a mushroom compost starter.
Okay,
That's what they
that's
use.
really
It's
good.
unspent mushroom compost.
That's
This is where
unspent, it had been
mushroom
used
farms
yet.
get it.
Okay,
Wow.
some of the mushroom companies bought it to buy it from them.
Mhm.
Okay, I found out about it when I was down at the farm at one time. I was looking, I like to use mushroom compost in my farming.
Yep.
I was buying mushroom compost, I bought a load of mushroom compost, and I had to buy 18 yards, had to buy a dump truck load.
And
You can
delivery
imagine
charges.
the delivery charges and all that. It was $900 and about died. But when,
Thank God you made it. She's over here like, you died.
so, not long after that, I was looking around and I happened to talk to the Walton County, extension agent there. And he said, well, have you been to the place in Pensacola? I said, no. He said, yeah, he said, they just started the thing up in like 2009, something like that. He said, but they've got a compost generator. He said, give them a call. So I called and talked to them. We have a source that we can buy this from, if you're interested in it.
Oh, cool.
If you buy this same quality product or this same type of product at Home Depot, it's $37.50 a bag.
Yeah, my husband works there, so, yeah, I've
I
scanned
can get it
it.
for $11 a bag.
That's amazing.
That's
Is
amazing.
that
You might
a,
wanna-
And it's really good.
A
We
yard
sold
bag?
it, used it.
is that a yard? Or, 3 square foot yard?
40 pound bag.
40, yeah, okay.
Do they have larger bulk
Landed
options?
here in LC.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, we.
Yeah,
That's
I went straight in.
See,
I
you don't
use
need
it
to
as a potting soil.
Because it has all the microbes.
And I
in
get
it.
you,
Yeah,
I get you
And
all
that's
the,
what you want,
Yeah.
it's all fresh
I
microbes.
get you all the information and everything in
That'd be
it.
amazing.
Chemical breakdown and everything is on their website. I get you the link to the website, you can look at all that.
Yeah, we'll put that on.
But,
And it's really great for the life of your soil too, because soil needs to be alive.
and,
If it's just dead, if there's no microorganisms in there, your plants are not gonna do well. I mean, you might be able to get them through it, but they're not gonna do well.
If you are not seeing worms,
Right.
your soil's doing no
We
good.
have worms, honey. We have
Oh,
worms.
I bet it
I
has.
have wiggers in this pile, I think, number 2 minutes.
Wow.
That's good.
But I brought samples for
So-
everyone today.
Yeah,
So
we
give us an
have-
example of,
Thank you.
without your mushroom compost and with mushroom compost, what's the growing rate? The quality of your plants.
Yeah.
Oh, we can see color in the chlorophyll in the plants within 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Or greener.
Yeah.
So we can see them taking
Rich
it up.
green
They
and.
have all that
last year-
nutrient density in
Yeah.
there.
We had
It's like
Romano
supplements.
tomatoes in November.
No.
It's pretty low.
I think it's my last
And now we had a plastic, we had a plastic sheet over it.
Sure, yeah.
We had, what, two Romano plants?
I think so
We had
too.
2 Romano plants, and we grow in, I'm old, and I don't crawl around on my knees on the ground.
Well, I'm raising
We have
it.
everything in raised beds that are waist level.
Yeah.
Unless it's potatoes or something.
And, we had 2 Romano plants, and we were finally just giving tomatoes away.
Yeah.
Just giving away, I told my next door neighbors to
That's a
come
good
get them.
problem though.
We can't use them.
I wish any of y'all
We don't
last
need
year.
them.
I hope we all have that problem this year with different plans.
Yeah.
So we can all just
Swap and share.
toss around and,
We do the same thing with
yep, our
Yep.
subcommittee today. We do wanna do a sign-in sheet, just so we kinda keep track of everybody when we go back to put the stuff out, we have the names. So Lynn's got a sign-in sheet.
Oh, good, I just brought my little.
I know you had something else to talk about. Unless you brought me a present.
What topics are interested for our upcoming meetings? Is there something else?
I mean, I love the microgreens, I just haven't done it
Me
through the
too.
winter, we've had too much going on. But, I'm getting ready to start some of that up
Me
again.
too.
And,
Let's
I
compare
also
notes.
want to remind everybody, hummingbirds, mine came in about the 15th of March last year and stayed through the end of October because I had my feeders out.
Wow.
And so, some of them talked about eating bees in their area, that might be a way for the pollination.
Right.
If you don't have your flowers blooming and stuff out there, but if the feeders are so cheap to put in,
Yeah.
you make your own solution, you don't have to buy the
Yeah.
expensive stuff.
Right,
Yeah, absolutely.
But March 15th last year had them, and I've been checking the chart, they're up above Orlando now on the migrations, I believe. They haven't quite started making the big one, but that'll come with the frost. But I was surprised how many hummingbirds I had last year, and other people said they had none, but I had my stuff out consistently.
Will come back to him, he'll let them know, hey, it's good to come back, food's so good, buffet's still open, welcome. And if not, it takes a lot longer to build back up.
And I didn't even talk to them yet, I meant to bring this up to the meeting. We're networking here too. The minute you start, it can avalanche. It's like, oh, I don't have a girlfriend. You get one, then 50 more show up. That's the way networking goes.
Oh, really?
That's the way networking goes.
Yes.
Two. All right. Local people here, we are not trying to go to the grocery store for anything. If I can do it out of the groceries, out of those stores, I will do it. I don't know how to can right now, but one of y'all is going to teach me.
And the brake bleeder from AutoZone makes, you can do wonders with that.
What is
I
it?
never would have thought of that.
It's a brake bleeder. You put it in, you pump the air in and out of it,
Yeah,
and
makes
put it
sense.
on
Made for
canning lids like that or the bags, and you can suck the air out.
You just have
Vacuum
to make sure you know the PSI you need to get to and get to
And
that PSI.
And there's no electricity involved.
Nope.
Yeah,
It's a hand pump.
Right?
So
So
when-
like my vacuum sealer won't work, I can use the brake bleeder and
that's
still
good.
get it
Yeah.
done.
That's a good pickle. That's the
We're
easiest to learn how to jar.
done with the overall meeting part, but one thing I wanted to bring up, if you want to learn something, shoot it to the group on the Facebook thing. That way we can schedule it and try to schedule it where we're 8 weeks out from needing it. So you
Right.
learn it beforehand, before you put it into practice.
And
that
we're
way,
gonna, I'm sorry.
no.
And we're gonna also try to post what the topic coming up is gonna be. And hopefully we'll get good enough that we can say this topic this week, this topic this week, this topic this week. Down the line, we're not quite there yet. But, that way you have a heads up, and if it's something you're not interested in, you don't have to worry about missing a meeting. We're not gonna dock you for that. It's not like we're paying y'all to be here, so you're not gonna lose your paycheck. So this is completely up to y'all. If you come, if it interests you, you come.
Feel that you have enough knowledge or want to learn the knowledge and want to sit up here, we would love that.
Yes.
Yes.
Listen, I'm a fill-in today.
Yeah.
That was all I'm here for is to crack a whip and say it's time. We gotta go.
Yep, so we like guest speakers and field trips, and we've got things that we can share that's hard to do in a setting like
Yeah.
this. And we want
And
to
just
discuss
like you,
any-
bringing that to our attention.
Yes.
And
Amazing.
professionally having it here ready to go. And I know you brought
We love
some
showing
in.
stuff. Love
Is that
it.
for us?
Yeah.
We get party gifts.
That is so awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Raised bed.
Our solar, so it's a-
And I definitely want to.
Was it last fall?
That's next stuff.
It's been in the article.
You're gonna love it.
All right, any other questions, comments, or concerns? Because we're getting hungry, and we are If you haven't tried it, give it a try.
We need to leave.
It sounds like the weirdest thing in the world, donuts and Asian.
Right?
But they make it work. It's good stuff. We're gonna actually sit down and do a hot pot. We haven't done it, so we'll
I'm
probably
dying
be
to
here
try that, and I
another
was trying to get James to come today, but he is working on the beds. I have pictures I'm gonna show you.
They just bring you this hot pot with a broth, basically. And they give you shaved beef, and there's shrimp, clam, crab, meatballs. They have a crab roll. They've got a dumpling that's a shrimp dumpling and a crab and cheese dumpling. You get these homemade fermented sauces, corn, all the vegetables. There's bok choy, lettuce, carrots. I don't know what this other stuff is. Mushrooms. Look at all the mushrooms. Look, that's just a slice of a big mushroom. And then you got all these beautiful little guys. Yeah, good stuff.